Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning at our BATM webinar in the series of innovation and technology. There's one more on Thursday, and that will finalize our month of October focus on technology and innovation, as you all know. Just as a side note, we are recording this session and this will become available for our members online on our website. If you have any questions during the session today, feel free to submit them in the chat function. We will be more than happy to handle them at the end of the presentation. Also, I just want to highlight that we are in the process of planning 3 more webinars in the month of November and 2 more in the month of December. The topics and all the details will become available as soon as possible, so keep an eye on your email. You will receive that information as soon as it becomes available. For today, it's my pleasure to welcome International SOS, and I'm happy to give the floor to Naman. Naman, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pascal and Sophie, for inviting us to the session, and thank you so much for everyone to join. And I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. So let me know when you can see my screen.
You got it now, Naman.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So thank you so much. And today we are here to talk about returning to travel and building traveler resilience, and talking about our organization, International SOS. I will start off with introduction, and we have here today my colleague Robert Condina, who is the Regional Security Director of Northern Europe. And myself, I am Naman Sabharwal. I am the BDM in partnerships for the UK and Northern Europe for International SOS. So we will start the session by a bit of introduction about International SOS, who we are, what we do, and how we work with organizations across the globe in different sectors, in different markets, and more importantly, how we've been supporting organizations in the past, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thereafter, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Rob Condina, who will give you guys some facts and some practical scenarios and examples, and the demo of our solutions. We have some time in the end for questions, so please ask questions. Please note down your questions, and we'll be able to answer them in the end of the session. So, International SOS. We are world's leading health and security services company. We are in the business for more than 30 years, and we support organizations across the globe in managing their health, security, and safety of their workforce, so that they continue to operate in different environments, in different scenarios, in different parts of the world. We have been doing this for a long time, and we have been the leading provider in the industry, and this is the main key reason about that is our global security, medical, and technological integration, and which allows us to support organizations in different scenarios across the world, no matter the nature of their support they need. We are able to support organizations in different countries, in different parts of the world, in different scenarios. So this really helps us to understand the needs, and our integration makes us able to support organizations across the globe. So this is a key thing for us as a part of our solution. We also make sure that the solution that we provide is able to support organization in a more user-friendly way, in a more seamless way, and we are able to provide that one-stop shop solution for organizations, so that they have one team to call to. They have they will get everything under one roof. They just need to call one number and they will be directed to one of our experts, no matter what is the nature of their request and what is the nature of their support. Now, when it comes to supporting the workforce of organizations, we work with domestic employees, we work with international travelers, we work with domestic travelers, and we work with international assignees. So therefore, we support the entire workforce of an organization. And just to keep it relevant to the audience we have here and this particular session, I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk about how we support business travelers, and be it domestic and international travelers. So this is a slide that we put together, and which gives you an idea about when it comes to a business travel, where we can come in and support. And as you can see, right from pre-travel to post-travel, International SOS has different capabilities and different tools available for a business traveler when it comes to the actual business travel. So we can support at any given scenario. And when it comes, especially our focus basically is around prevention. So we make sure that a traveler is quite prepared, has enough knowledge and have enough information with them before they travel, so that they can be aware of what are the scenarios they are going to be exposed to when they are in a particular country. So as you can see, when it comes to pre-travel, we support in quite a lot of areas, especially when during our pre-travel advice, during with the country information, with our training that we provide to travelers, and especially when the travels are booked, we make sure that we provide the active alerts and pre-trip briefings. We make sure that the managers are alerted about the upcoming trips of their travelers. During travel, our assistance part comes into play, and our tracking solution comes into play, which allows us to provide the further support through our assistance centers and through our tracking tool. And just on the post-travel part, which is quite topical at the moment, when the travelers are back and they have to quarantine, we still provide the support that we can when it comes to the local restrictions and when it comes to the local assistance and the emotional support which is needed, especially at the time right now, where a traveler needs to quarantine for 14 days in a remote location. So the slide gives you guys an idea about where we can come in and support, and when it comes to a business travel. Just on pivoting from the slide itself, I wanted to mention you a bit more about the journey a business traveler can have through International SOS when it comes to actually getting the support and getting access to our solutions. As you can see, right from the start, we can support a business traveler when they through our e-learnings, which are available in different languages and in different topics, and we provide that those e-learnings, and we make sure that the traveler has access to those e-learnings and they've used those e-learnings to get prepared before their business trip. At any point of time, a traveler can also get access of all our information and alerts and advisories through our assistance app. They can have that assistance app and they can access all the country information, all the alerts, all the risks that are going on at the moment. Our pre-trip advisories and follow-up alerts also make sure that we keep the travelers informed before they leave, and we provide them actionable insights and alerts on the countries that they are traveling to. At any point of time, when they are in their business, when they are in their travel itself, they can call at our assistance center. Even before their travel, they can call at our assistance center, and we encourage the travelers to do it more often, so that they have any questions about their travel, they can speak to our experts. And one call to our assistance center will be they can get connected to a doctor or a security specialist around the world. We have 26 assistance centers, and and all of those assistance centers are 24/7. And we make sure that we are always there to support a business traveler whenever there is a need, whenever there is a whatever is the nature of the support that they need. Also, talking a bit more about our tracking tool, which gives us which gives the organization an insight about where their travelers are at one point of time. It gives a consolidated view about their travelers, and this helps the managers to push active alerts to the travelers. If there is a crisis in the nearby location, they can contact their travelers through that tool, so that they are able they're able to locate their travelers, and they are able to account for their travelers in case of a crisis. We also make sure that we have the communication platform available through that tool, so that there is back and forth communication that can happen during the crisis between the traveler and the manager. Lastly, about our emotional support helpline, we do have that available for the business travelers, be it domestic or international. We make sure that the emotional support helpline is available at times when it's needed, and especially at the moment, as I mentioned before, where it is something that is quite topical, and it's quite valuable among our clients. Our emotional support helpline is there to support the travelers as well. Talking about the elephant in the room, I would say the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm just going to talk about how we have been supporting our clients and organizations around the world over this past 7 months with the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you can see in this slide, there are 3 categories in which we have supported our clients and organizations across different sectors, across different markets. And the nature of these supports, the support that we provided, depend very much upon the pandemic, the stage of the pandemic in different countries. So, for instance, in the beginning, it was very much about evacuation and repatriation of the workforce of an organization back to their home countries, back to their countries of origin, so that they can work from home. They can work remotely, and they are safe and sound back to their home. So very much in the beginning, our support was about evacuation and repatriation, and providing the initial support with the COVID-related cases and scenarios. As the pandemic moved on, we are supporting our clients with the COVID related cases as well, and providing teleconsultations to different clients across different countries. And this helps us to again provide the much needed support to our clients at the time when we know that the hospitals are overwhelmed, and our clients, our organizations may not have the access to the right medical care. Our teleconsultation services are there to support them in that scenario. Talking about our health and security intelligence, this has been pivotal for us to actually show the value of international SOS and make sure that the client or an organization keeps on using us, even though there is no travel happening at the moment. So our health and security intelligence in the form of consulting, in the form of advisories, we have been using our intelligence to support organizations in different scenarios, be it during the start of the pandemic, helping them to develop pandemic plans and develop policies in place so that they can operate in this new environment, and making sure that they have the right support available to their workforce who are working remotely, and they make sure that their workforce are productive and safe wherever they are. So all this support was provided by our our doctors and our security experts, engaging with our clients and being a part of their crisis management team and trying to support them in different scenarios. At the moment, it's very much about returning to operations and returning to travel in this new environment, in the environment where we need to take care of so many things. We need to have the right procedures and right policies in place before we send out business travelers around the world. So we are also supporting at the moment organizations with coming up with those plans, coming up with those policies through our health and security consulting engagements. Lastly, about the medical staffing, we were still working with sectors and organizations and clients that were operating at all times during these 7 months of pandemic. For instance, the oil and gas sectors or the EMI sectors. And we were making sure that wherever they were operating during this time, we were providing the right support. We were providing the right equipment and the right PPEs, the right medical staffing to them so that they continue to operate, even though the environment was a different one. But we were making sure that the business continuity of these sectors and our clients and organizations in those sectors are not affected. So this gives you an idea about our COVID-19 support that we provided to our clients in organizations around the world in the past 7 months. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Robert Condina. And Rob, do you want to comment on this slide?
No, I mean, other than to say, so just for context, I've been with the company for 4 years so far, and my role really for this year has been overseeing the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, both from a business continuity perspective in terms of our assistance centers. So all of our assistance centers globally continue to operate. In the UK, we're deemed key workers, and similar exceptions were given by various governments, and the ability to sort of maintain our operations for our clients in terms of using. And actually, we split in Singapore, for example, we actually split our assistance centers across 2 sites to ensure we could continue to run and not cross-contaminate per se. So we were isolating staff per location. And then also supporting the response to clients. And I think, Naman, as you put it there, we really started out very incredibly busy evacuating, repatriating in a time of airport and border closures, which was incredibly challenging and interesting, but exciting nonetheless. And then since then, it's really been about both return to travel, return to operations, but also staff who have been in location for a long time, continuing to support them through that location. So, Naman, if we go to the next slide, and for everyone, I just really want to just put in context on C19 and what it is we've seen with our clients and how we're supporting them. We did a survey with Ipsos Mori. And, this will come as no surprise to anyone, really, that, the primary concerns and challenges of C19 has been the lockdown measures, the international border controls, and the impact that's having to business continuity. And then, many believed and believe the second wave will have the biggest impact to the, business continuity in future. I think if anything, and Pascal and I were having a brief conversation about it, the reality is second, third, fourth waves, it's going to take some time, right? Even if a vaccine at best guess, available by Christmas, perhaps to frontline workers and so on, the time in which that vaccine to have the required effect is going to be at least 6 to 12 months. We're going to see continued challenges when it comes to mobility and movement. But because of the duration, companies are now needing to think, well, we have to continue operations, so how do we do so as safely as possible? And that's really where we're working with them to look at their exposure, look at their business operations, and identify how they can do so in the best way possible. Naman, if we click on, I think one of the key components of the COVID-19 pandemic that I really want to pick up on as well is verified information, right? I think this fake news being an issue, it's been an issue for some time. Significant increase of unverified information, available to the general public has been there, but it's been exponentially increased by COVID-19. Firstly, everybody's spending a lot more time on the internet and online. They're spending it outside of the water cooler and perhaps, other people who can sense check information that they're receiving. And this is really important because outside of everything, outside of needing, verified information to make key decisions and valued intelligence to make key business decisions about crisis management or business continuity, there's also an impact on your staff and there's their well-being, their level of anxiety, particularly when they are spending increased periods of, in isolated from the broader team, from their family and friends and so on. And actually what we're seeing is the, generation Y and Z, as they're coming into the workforce of everyone on the call here, it's now becoming a almost like a staff benefit, that the ability to access verified information from a security, medical, logistics perspective is almost like a staff benefit to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of information being passed around on WhatsApp, but actually here, this is verified information from doctors and epidemiologists who used to work for the WHO, now work in international SOS, and it's almost like having the advanced knowledge at the dinner party, and it's a great tool there to have. I've just provided some examples of where of some of the false information out there, but just to put that in context on the international SOS, and Naman outlined it, we have 24/7 centers around the globe, plus regional sites. And in each one of those, there's doctors and nurses, subject matter expertise on security and medical, sat together, operating and managing the alerting and the reporting and the case management and the client advice at the same time under the one roof. And that's really the value that we bring, because the nature of open source information and intelligence is so much of it out there, and I won't mention any company names, but there's no human analysis going over the top of it. It's simply information just being pushed out based on keyword searches. And that's really the value we bring, human analysis from subject matter experts. Now, if we go to the next slide, and 3 pillars really that we continue to reference to our clients and how we support them: assess, advise, assist. Assess is really what I was talking about there, is having around the clock. We essentially, very early on, we started to see from clients the main thing people were asking about outside of, can you get me out of here, was, can I go here? Can I return there? What does that look like? So we essentially established a round the clock team around the globe who were just purely dedicated to looking at the logistics components. Where a country is closing down, what requirements do I need now to go into a country, what paperwork or testing, so on and so forth. Where can I move? How far can I move from my accommodation, and so on. And so we've essentially started to build a significant database, and very quickly, and I'll show you a little bit later in the live demonstration, surfaced information on our pandemic website, which was invaluable to supporting clients, thus far in the crisis, and will certainly be critical in navigating the future. Because the reality is, you cannot navigate the next 18 months unless you've got dynamic information to verify, dynamic access to verified information, and being able to plot and be agile in your business continuity, business planning phase for the next 12 to 18 months. I think really that's the key point I want to sort of flag up on here, other than the key bit here as well, changes to risk environment as a result of the pandemic. There's 2 things there I want to highlight. Firstly, C-19 has definitely impacted the security environment in many countries across the globe, either an increase in civil unrest, which we're seeing in many parts of Europe right now, and including other parts of the world, because there's a fatigue of restrictions being in place. There's an anti-government, anti-science movement occurring, conspiracy theorists, and they're actually all coming together, which in traditionally lower risk destinations, now there's certainly a risk of unrest, and having a clear understanding about where is the potential flashpoints of that, how can I avoid that, is certainly a part that we play. I think the other point for travel managers to really consider is, previously, by resourcing and prioritization and risk assessment, they would really focus on the travel to the medium, higher risk and extreme risk destinations. Travel now, post C-19, means that every travel requires intense oversight, a high level of duty of care, much more involvement, and much more checkboxes that the company needs to display that they've done, let alone the traveler. And this is really where we're supporting. So we've also, a tool that we're not showing today, but a support mechanism for our clients, is a C-19 check. So pre-travel, have you done X, Y, and Z? Have you checked this, that, and the other? Have you received this testing, and so on? So that's a one example of one of the tools that we're supporting them, but also a mindset change where every travel now for the next 18 months needs an increased level of oversight. If we go to the next one is advice. Fundamentally, again, we advise on a few different levels. The traveler, 24/7, call into the relevant center at any one point on one number. They'll be directed, medical security response, and away they go. And we can, a lot of that is pre-mitigation, pre-travel advice, put them at ease and help them understand, what hotel should they be staying in? Where is there a cluster right now in that current location? And where are my meetings? And perhaps based on that, can I select a hotel which will require less use of public transport, is in a lower cluster destination, case cluster destination? And then you start to maneuver your operations like that. Why is that important? If you look at the second wave as opposed to the first wave, countries were probably caught, not napping, that's not correct. Everybody was caught unaware about the scale of this. And then countries made a very last minute move, led by Italy in Europe, to say, right, we're locking things down. We need to close the whole country down, and away we go. I think economically, and as well as the fact that we learned much more about how COVID-19 transfers, countries now are having a much more localized regional approach, right? They have the ability to do that because of the testing and tracking and systems. We are also looking at how countries are doing that and trying to forecast where the next restrictions will go in. But it's safe to say that if you can choose accommodation and choose your movements and meetings locations and so on in lower cluster areas, you're likely to avoid impending restrictions for the duration of your travel. And so that's how we're helping people to plan their travel ahead to avoid, potential restrictions and impact on their business operations. Data-led decision-making is the key bit there. And again, I'll show you the tool in a moment, which will highlight how we're doing that. So if we go to the last bit, assist is really what we alluded to, that we've been doing a lot of, supporting managers to plot out their exposure, to identify where they have risk, when there are impending restrictions coming, help them work that out. So either they make quick movements and return travelers back, and then there's a whole process that goes through that in terms of medical support, logistical support, emotional support, or actually, can we support them to remain in the location they're in by giving them the ready access to the medical advice they need, that they have, ensure they're in a good accommodation, that they can stay long-term, have access to food, water, transport, and so on. So it's really about, case-by-case basis, but supporting companies, to maintain their business operations through a challenging environment and challenging time. And I think I've spoken about some of the other components there. So Norman, just go to the next one. This is a quick snapshot as to the tool I'm going to show you in a moment. So just bear with me. But what I wanted to just explain before we go over to the live demonstration is two impact scales that we've created. So there is the domestic travel impact scale, a travel operation impact scale, and there's domestic operation impact scale. The travel scale is pretty simple, right? On a scale of 1 to 5, how easy is it to enter the country and start operations, right? So are there border restrictions? Are there flight closures, airline closures and so on? Is there a mandatory requirement for 14-day quarantine? Is there testing and so on needed? So based on that, we give that a scale of 1 to 5. Now, that does influence a go or no-go decision that companies can start to make, right? And then the domestic operations is less of a go, no-go, but really is about giving a flavor, giving a sense on how easy is it currently to operate in that particular country. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how, for example, 5 saying business operations are severely restricted or temporarily not possible. Only essential business is likely. So, you're looking at full country lockdowns with curfews and closure of public spaces and closure of offices and so on, all the way through to the other end of the spectrum, which we're seeing in places like Vietnam and Jordan and parts of Australia and New Zealand and so on, on that. So it gives you a bit of a sense and a flavor in that capacity. So rather than talk about it, let's perhaps show it. If you could just allow me to show it, Omar.
Yeah.
And let's go to this first. Hopefully everyone can see this. So first up, this is, let me just minimize this. This is a new tool actually that we've rolled out in the last 6 months. It's called Manager View. And the reality is, Naman alluded to it previously, but it's worth pointing out. as an organization, we've been really focused on international travelers for a long time. And clients forever have been saying, you're amazing within our international travelers, but we need you to look after our whole workforce. So a change that the company has made, expedited no doubt by COVID-19, is to really look after the whole of workforce. Use our intelligence capabilities, use our systems capabilities, our medical expertise to look after everyone. And so that's great. It's great to be in that position now where we can offer that to clients. I think the other key factor is managers and the manager audience. The reality is, it's always been the case that managers have had to wear multiple hats. Security managers are wearing travel managers, are wearing health and safety manager hats all at the one time. And this pandemic, almost across the board, will create a situation where managers are needing to do more with less. And so what we're trying to do is pull all the tools together so it makes it easy for the managers to both forecast, understand their exposure, and respond to it. So the manager view does that in this capacity. So, I mean, this is an example here. This special advisory has only just happened in the last 10 minutes since we've been on the call, because there's been an explosion in Afghanistan. But outside of that, what you can quickly do is have a look at the global view and say, where are the key events happening right now? Special advisory or evacuation notice are our highest tier. We have four tiers of advisory and 5 tiers of evacuation notification. And so very quickly, you can look, and the majority of these are because of significant outbreaks of COVID-19. So that'll be, I think, Bolivia, Peru, and so on. So it gives you a bit of an idea of what's happening right now, and you can click into these to perhaps get, sorry, I should do it like this, to get more details on the alert and what's happening. And you can also then see, now this is the explosion, but the same for COVID-19 outbreaks. You can see how many people you have in there now, how many people in the next 30 days, and so on. Now, obviously there's a demo version and we haven't put staff members' names there, but if you're a manager, you can identify very quickly what's your exposure relevant to a significant key event. So if we look at the active threats for COVID-19, and what we can do here is search by country. And there's multiple views of this, and I've just searched up France and United States. So if you're starting to be interested in these countries, and again, you can have a global view, you can filter your options by region, inbound, outbound, international, domestic, and plan changes and internal conditions. These are the key fundamental tenets that that 24/7 team are looking at to see what is changing. So these 3 are simply looking at, how easy it is to go in, how easy it is to get out, what's it look like to move around, not just by flying, but also road movements and so on. And then internal conditions looks at closure of public spaces and limited public transport and so on, and plan changes as well. So often we're able to forecast or utilize government announcements to say, right, currently it's this, but by Monday it'll look like that. And so this really gives you a bit of a flavor of that. So I just ran a report for 2 countries, France and the United States. And you see here, as mentioned, the travel impact rating for France is medium, and it's also medium for domestic operations. And then you have all the various restrictions and requirements for France that you need. Those that are on the accepted list, the exemptions, the paperwork that's required in advance of your travel. Then you've got the various outbound, internal, domestic components. And so France has an alert system. So it explains that there, provides relevant links and so on. And the United States, I want to show, to really highlight that regional approach. So United States, incredibly interesting list of of countries that you can travel from and not travel from. But then the US, it's literally almost like 50 countries in one, where you've got huge differences in the way each state is tackling it and requirements and restrictions. So it goes to a granular level. And I think this is really important for organizations that have a widespread exposure to understand what's in place, right? A school's open in this state, what's the requirement in that state, and so on. So, and so on. So you can essentially, add any countries here and go from there. You can also run a report, which will sort of print off a PDF that you can then shoot off and share with whoever it's relevant for in the coming days. So that's the location and insights. The intelligence forecasting, this is access to our scientific updates. These are fantastic. I read them all the time, and they will we now know one more we're talking about it, but it'll really sort of show, let me just show this up. So fantastic insight from our medical team. Now, what I should say, our medical team, some of them are prior, World Health Organization staff members, and some of them still regularly consult into WHO. And you're looking at this, the level of insight is fantastic in terms of how successful the vaccines are, and what's the initial analysis of that, Down syndrome impacts to COVID-19 and so on. I mean, and these are published every day, if not every 2 days. And I think this is, one of the last ones, which is really, really interesting about looking at the level of vaccination population in order for immunity to occur. So just an example, I guess, of the level of insight and reporting that you can access. And related materials looks at, videos that we're putting out in terms of situational updates, both again, the medical and security experts in that context. So if we go back to location insights, news and status will give you an overview per country on what status our medical team have put it at, if it's an outbreak, increased activity, and so on. And this really gives you, again, some of the recent alerts that we've published on COVID-19. And if you go to interactive C19 data by location, if this loads up, you can then actually really deep dive. And I guess it's similar to your John Hopkins of the world and other reporting. It's just loading, but you could pull various tables and growth charts and so on if that is of interest to you. I think another key point, just bear with me, here we go. So look, the alerts will just simply, you can look at broader alerting, not just special advisory, and you can look at by country and so on this page. And probably the last one I want to show you on manager view, actually last two, is this slide, which sort of, again, you can filter these to determine it, but you can get a bit of a snapshot on what are the impact scales that we're rating for travel and domestic operations. How does that match up with the medical risk and security risk of those countries, which again, we provide the assessment of. Then you've got how many active alerts. You've then got how many people do you have in that location at that time. So you can start to filter by your need, as well as where are your office and fixed asset locations, and start cross-referencing in that component. Maybe the only other one I want to show you, but you'll see this also as we go to the pandemic website, is resources. So a fantastic piece, valuable here for managers to be able to use different resources to communicate internally. But I also want to then just show you, you can also go into a digital training catalog and really allocate staff to do some travel risk awareness, or there's also a medical one and so on, malaria awareness and so on, and you can start allocating training for various staff. But I want to take you to a different website. So at the start of the pandemic, the organization made a key decision to allow public access to the pandemic website. So this is a international SOS website that we've maintained at all times. And so you'll see here, if I go to the overview, it's not simply COVID-19. We've had components here for Ebola, for bird flu, seasonal flu, and so on. But what we did is create a COVID-19 specific page, and we allowed a level of public access. So you can get some of the scientific updates on this site. You can also see, just bear with me, hopefully this loads, some of the videos. Just bear with me, where's the map? I'll just open it up here. So this gives you the levels that our doctors and nurses are placing countries at, and a bit of an interactive map on that context. And then you've got access to, your John Hopkins of the world, further C19 data and so on. So that is, we've allowed that for public access. The member access goes in much more detail. So you're able to, we could be here for some time clicking through all these various pieces, but this really is some really great advice that can be utilized internally, and it's particularly in a return to office scenario. So key tips in terms of movements, in terms of how to manage outbreaks and so on. and travel restrictions. So if you click on this, you will come to this page. So you can, again, this is a much more granular version of what you're seeing on COVID-19, and you can do multiple selections. So let's call out Algeria for this point because it's an interesting country. And I've clicked Dominican Republic and France also. So again, you're able to go quite granular in terms of those key subjects and determine, okay, which country, where are you allowed, which countries are you allowed from, and so on, and really move in that capacity. So it's giving you all the various tips and tools that you need to inform decision making about go or no go. I think the other key point of this website is it's giving you access to really great information that our doctors are producing in terms of business continuity components and the latest on the vaccine. In fact, 2 of our doctors are on vaccine trials at the moment and being part of that process. And it's a really valuable insight just to understand where is that at, as well as the ability to sign up for relevant COVID-19 emails and alerts as they're published. And then there is a level of premium service access. So you can get manager advice from security and medical experts to basically sit on the client crisis management team and help support some of their key decision making as we go along. And then there's various tools that you can utilize from this component. But I'm conscious of time and certainly wanted to leave some time for any questions. But again, a bit of a snapshot on some of the tools that we're providing to clients. I think the only other point worth mentioning is that we are also providing, we also have a tool called Site Monitor, which is also fantastic. And to briefly put an explanation on that, it's the ability to plot your assets, again, fixed assets or your staff members, and being able to then overlay that with the various alerts that are going out there and use it as a communication and crisis management tool. So for example, there's an outbreak in Peru. You can activate your Peru team to say, right, there's an outbreak in location, but not at your office. These are the steps you need to take. And so on there is a checklist that we provide the crisis management team on how to respond to that outbreak, the resources, the library to utilize on that, and also a case management system for the crisis management tool. So again, I've touched upon a few components there, but really just want to highlight some of the innovations that the organization has outlined. Thanks, Naman.
Thank you very much, Rob and Naman, for a very insightful session this morning. Highly appreciated the partnership, and thank you very much for that. I have not received any questions in the chat function, so for everybody on the call, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them. We'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes in order for everyone to have a chance to submit any questions they might have. But I don't see anything popping up. So I guess you guys have been very clear in what you provide, and that's kudos to you because it's the first session with no questions. So you've done a fantastic, phenomenal job this morning. No, there are no questions from the audience this morning. So I just want to, again, thank Naman and Rob for their insightful presentation and International SOS for the partnership this morning. Highly appreciated. For everybody on the call, just know that the recording of this session with all the information will become available on our website. Feel free to check that out. Again, we have 1 more session in the month of October coming up this Thursday morning, again at the same time, 10:30. Again, thank you very much for joining. Stay safe, stay healthy, and talk to you soon. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.